Hello, Ben here from Supercoach Insider, and I am joined with Jords from Jords Supercoach. How are you, mate?
Doing well, Ben. Thanks for having me on.
No worries.
Supercoach.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a week of anarchy, and the reason we wanted to get together is a little quick-fire podcast and discuss what to do with Marshall going down, obviously injured, and Preuss going down injured, and everyone wants to know who to fill those gaps with, Jords.
They're dropping like flies at the moment, players. We just lost Marshall, and you have a few options, right? So you either go down or you go all the way down to a rookie. That's what I am sort of thinking at the moment. But we need the rookies to come through. But it seems like the forward line, the rookies are looking healthier compared to the other lines. But again, it's a little early to know. You can go for a breakout, a forward player, and a lot of these guys most of these guys are traps, really. But if the mid time is there, you could consider it. Seeing Butters, Rosie, Rayner, all three. I don't think you can pick. Butters is probably the most likely, but again, we don't know their forward and mid split. Something that's very important, right?
Yeah, definitely very important. One of those I would like to touch on is Caldwell. I think he's going to be an absolute banger. But if for those of you who have missed the information, Rowan Marshall, he was 557k forward ruck, has a stress fracture in his foot on the 17th of Feb. It was reported, and he will be out for some time. Now, with a stress fracture on the foot, it could be a short time. You don't know with those kinds of things, and it's especially for a big boy, I think it hurts.
Yeah, obviously he's not going to play round one. We don't know how long he's going to be out for, so he was probably a lock, really, especially with the dual position. Made him a lot more valuable. And, Ryder's 33. If Ryder went down and you don't have Marshall, I think you're in big trouble. We saw what he did solo rucking in, I think it was 2019. So yeah, Jai Cardwell's an interesting one. Very talented, playing very well inside mid at the Dons intra club at the moment. A few issues with him. So how much mid time is he going to get? Still Parrish, McGrath, Merritt will go through there. And can he do it for 22 games? He's been very injury prone. I think even in his draft year, from memory, can't exactly remember though. But definitely the last 2 years, he's had a lot of injuries. So
yep, there is definitely some risk. Now he's only scored over 73 Supercoach once, and that was an 84. So there's definitely that kind of sketchy part. Now he had really low time on ground. I think it was like mid 60s. The only thing that actually bodes well for me is that the club comes out and says, Devon and Shield, they're going to be playing more forward time. And then Heppel is now obviously going halfback flank. So I definitely can see a role in there for him. It's just how long can he make it last for? And is he going to keep that role? And is it going to be Supercoach gold as far as his scoring?
The CBAs should be there by the sounds of that. Even Heppel going back as well, which helps. So from the looks of it, yeah, he'll get a lot of mid-time. But again, it's the fact that he's unproven and injury-prone, and he's not guaranteed to get all that mid-time, although it's what it looks like. So yeah, there's too many question marks for me over Cardwell. 350k is not a bad price, and I think a lot of us are struggling to pick who's going to be that F6. But there seems to be about 5 standouts, but again, anything can happen during the season. So I think
I agree. Who would you choose though if you had, say, Rosie for 29k more? And that's kind of the toss up. I think a lot of people are looking for those cheaper options. Would you be looking at a Caldwell or a Rosie?
Absolutely not Connor Rosie. No way. We saw what he did last year. I know he's injured, but we haven't seen any improvement from him in the midfield. So it's a guessing game. Big games he's had, it's been against really weak teams last year. So I don't think you can pick Rosie. And, again, the biggest issue for me with Rosie is he's still not 100% over that foot injury. That was in an interview after their Port intra-club where he kicked six snags. So 3 of them in the goal square. So I don't think you can pick Rosie. I'll be picking Cardwell over Rosie just because I think Cardwell will get more mid-time and he's had a full pre-season.
Yeah, and that 29k difference as well is definitely a nice little bonus. I was kind of half on the Rosie train, but I think I kind of agree in the sense that, yeah, he will get some mid rotations, but he did come out and say that he's not over that foot issue. He was very had some good games and a few like hit and miss up and some low games and some high games. For me, I just think I like him, but if he plays more forward, he might average you a flat 90 or even an 88, which is still serviceable. But is he going to be that F6 keeper? I'm now starting to feel it's not going to be worth it.
I feel like that's best case for Rosie. So
I think Butters actually has the better job security in that midfield rotation. And the problem is that he's too expensive. But for draft leagues in particular, playing a lot more mid, he's had a big impact as a mid, and they really like what he creates into that midfield. And I think, Butters could by next year be a mid-only option.
I definitely like Butters a lot more than Rosie. I think, probably get more mid-time. His CBA, he got like no CBAs last year, and he still averaged a really healthy score. So you would think naturally, and he's looked really good in the midfield in preseason. Better than Rosie, I think. That's what they've been saying from the reports I've read. So I don't mind Butters. Again, it's unproven. We don't know the forward mid split, but the mid split is the percentage of mid to forward time. It's going to go up for midfield time. So he's probably the one under 500k that you'd go with. It's still a little risky for me.
So here's the sketchy part, right? Butters is still, I think, the 11th highest averaging forward. He was nearly top 10. That's how sick it is. And I don't mind him. I'm not picking him at standard, but I think he's too expensive and there's better options. But out of the two, I think Rosie is the one, and he's definitely better on bread.
That's right. I think
so. Who are your like top 2 or 3 that you're looking at? So you have Marshall goes down, Preuss goes down, and you're like, holy crap! Who are the 2 people or 3 people you're going to slot into that spot? If you're not assuming you're not waiting for that extra rookie and then going up, talking straight premiums, who are you looking at?
I don't really want to pick any of them, to be honest, but you got to pick 3. I think it's Dustin Martin. I think flying in the preseason. Again, with Dustin Martin, you're paying overs. You're going to get in for 500 in a few weeks anyway, but you know that Dusty's going to be there probably 95 plus this year. So I think it's Dusty. Durability as well. He's a little bit older, but 29 still, he's almost the GOAT, really. That's for another day of discussion, but he's that unbelievable. You got to respect him. So I think number 1 is Dustin Martin. And then you probably pick between Dangerfield and Sidebottom. Danger, I'm not touching Danger and his dodgy groin. He's had that for 4 or 5 months, so that kind of goes against everything. I'm not picking a player soft tissue injury for that long. Probably Sidebottom next. Seems to be playing really well. Played wing and inside for Collingwood. Maybe a bit more time for inside, mid-time for Sidebottom. So probably Dusty, Sidey, and then Danger.
Okay, now respectfully going to disagree a little. Dustin Martin, he's only missed 5 games in 8 years. So as far as durability, definitely a tick on that. Again, a good point as far as I think he will drop in price. It's one of those things where I think he's really valuable forward. And my Richmond friends have definitely been saying the run they have early, he'll definitely switch up those roles. So for me, it is basically now Sidebottom, right? The highest averaging output he has had, I think he's only gone over it once previously. He went 106 in 2016, 96, 101, 94, and then surpassed that by 15 points to a 109.4. I think he is well overpriced. Definitely some room in that midfield. I think he's a great option, but for me, I'm looking at probably an upgrade on him. And I'm actually starting Dangerfield, and I haven't had Dangerfield in my side for a long, long, long time. Marshall goes out. News comes out that Dangerfield's now groin pain-free in his groin on February 18. The Cats also came out saying that they actually want to play Danger in the midfield. They say, they need him to be that top midfielder in the competition, but that's going to depend on his body early. So I see him playing a little bit more forward early and then working his match fitness up to get into the midfield. So yes, I think he probably will drop in price. However, even as a forward, Geelong have an extremely easy run to start with. They play Adelaide, then they play Brisbane, Hawks, D's, North, Eagles, Sydney, and then Richmond, Saints, Suns. So it kind of gets a little bit more difficult there. But even if he does play forward, he could kick 5 goals against Adelaide. Brisbane, he'll probably, we seem to leak 5 goals to Dusty every other week. So it's going to be interesting. And with so much uncertainty, I was relying on Marshall to be at least that one forward that you could kind of guarantee would be top 6. So now I'm kind of like, well, maybe I'll go Danger with possibly a Heaney and then a Caldwell. It's just one of those funny ones for me because, Danger, again, durable, besides the fact that he has now had some soft tissue injuries. He's played 123 out of 127, averaged, extremely high over the last sort of 6 seasons. And, he usually starts off a little slower, which is what I'm concerned about. But even at the back end of last year, the last 14 rounds, he averaged 120. I still, it's one of those ones where I'm thinking about just paying up, and I'd rather pay up for a Danger than for a side bottom, unfortunately.
Yeah, completely fair there.
It's a toss-up though.
Yeah, it's just I think no midfielder has ever averaged over 110 at 31. Pretty sure. Is Danger an exception because he's been Iron Man, he's been unbelievable, 8-time All-Australian. Could have been one of the greatest of all time if he could kick or played midfield in finals. So it's a hard one. I want to see how he goes in the preseason. He says he's pain-free. He's got enough preseasons under his belt to play really well. So, yeah, obviously, clearly always been a better Supercoach option than Dusty. It's just the preseason injury. But, yeah, pain-free. See how he goes in the next few weeks. I understand why you'd pick Dangerfield. But I'm not worried if I don't start Dangerfield at all.
No, that's fair enough. So what was your point? No one over 30 has averaged more than 110 in a midfield?
Well, 31, yeah, over 30, 31 and over, I'm pretty sure. Might have Ablett, maybe. I can't remember. And if it was Ablett, I think that was when he was injured.
I was going to say, are you talking about a full season or are you just talking about averages? Because Scotty Pendlebury says hi. He says hi. He got 110.2 and he's 33, I think.
Wait, so say it again. Who was it?
Pendlebury. Just the year gone, 110.2.
This year?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, I'll say Corona season.
Corona season, no, and he only played 13 games. It wasn't a full season. That was just a quick little look. It was, it was just one of those things. And I do agree he's getting older and even Dusty's getting older. So maybe people are thinking out with the old in with the new and bringing the Rosies and the Butters and, the sun's always rosy on the other side.
Yeah, I think you just, for me, play it safe for the time being. If anyone gets significant midfield time and looks unbelievable, like a Petrarca-esque last year, I don't think anyone has the ceiling for that. Maybe Rayner in a few years, I'm not exactly sure. You'd have a better read on that than me. But yeah, I think for me, Dusty for preseason, you probably know what you're going to get, maybe a little bit under or a rookie for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. De Goey is one who could pull a Petrarca, and he is one who will float under the radar in maybe 7 to 10% aside to have a really good one preseason game in that midfield. And I reckon he could jump up by 25% ownership. I reckon everyone will be like, oh, Petrarca. And they just jump on and hope that it's lightning twice in a bottle.
Yeah, well, the good news for De Goey is his court date got pushed back to August, I think. So you got a bit more room there. Probably De Goey, what was interesting about De Goey is he played midfield early last year in 2020 and he didn't score very well. This year it seems to have switched on a little bit, training a lot with Pendles in the preseason, like one-on-one sort of stuff, with doing extras. Has the scope clearly, has the tools to explode in the midfield. But again, he's had a minor injury issue this preseason. I can't remember the exact issue. But yeah, he's very unproven in the midfield. Does he have the tank yet? I'm not sure. He's injury prone. And it might be complications off the field, but it's probably going to be fine. I can't see a world where I pick De Goey at this stage. But I think the potential is there.
Yeah, I tend to agree at this stage. I am looking at him softly, but he averaged 71 outside of his one game that he did well last year when he got a 151. Apart from that, he averaged 71. So I think there is room in that midfield for him or someone else. And again, if he goes into that midfield and shits the bed like he did last year when he was in the midfield, they're going to kick him out. But word is he's in unquestionable nick, so I am keeping a loose eye on him there. And Isaac Heaney's one too. I don't know why I keep coming back into Isaac Heaney. He just passes the eye test. You see him, he gets a ground ball, looks good, does a couple of things, and you're like, oh, geez, he could be a good 100. Or he could, break down like a Lance Franklin.
Yeah, it's like dangling the carrot on the donkey's head with Isaac Heaney. He looks so good, and you want a piece of it, but it's rubbish. Every year it's the same. It's injuries. It's more forward time. It's more mid time. Don't get me wrong. The talent is there. He's unbelievable. He's probably the most talented player on that list, buddy aside. So 450K, again, injuries this preseason. I think just still recovering from the foot he had. Pretty nasty injury.
He's just started coming back into the main group, was reported February 16, so he's hoping to play the Amy Series game. So he is starting to play some sort of game scenarios. But for me, I actually went back and looked at his 2019, and he had some great scores, but geez, he followed up with some doozies. He was pulling out 120s and then backing up with a 40. And you're like, what the hell, Heaney? And that's that forward role that you speak of.
Same thing happened in 2020, right? So in the first few rounds, he plays the Crows, one of the worst teams I've ever seen in the Crows earlier in the season. Just terrible. Dropped like a 150 on them. Dropped a really big score on North, and then I think 4 other scores were pretty average. And then that averaged out, because of those 2 big scores, his average was 90. And that was playing mostly forward, I think. So it was forward eligible only. So it would have been mostly forward. So it sounds like he's going to play more forward, and he needs to play those lower teams to up his score. I'm not saying he's he relies on killing other lower teams, but when he's forward, more so than when in the midfield. So right now as it stands, he's going to play more forward. So not for me, Isaac Heaney. And there's also the injury risk. I know he's played a lot of games, but he just finds a way to get niggles, and he plays strong. Whatever it is, he just finds a way to be injured somehow. So
it's a bit ironic though. He can wakeboard in the back dam around his house and not get injured a single time, and then he goes out in the footy field and breaks down. Like what are the odds?
It's only a matter of time though.
Only a matter of time. Now, have you already got, because you haven't mentioned him, I know you're big on him, Dunkley. Now we're talking about watching for roles, someone who has massive hurt factor, and it could be hurt your opponents or it could be to hurt yourself. Where do you stand?
He's a bad man, Josh Dunkley. I think you have to pick him. I don't see why. I get that mid-time it's who knows with Beveridge. And Bevo said the other day, he's going to have to play some time forward, and Dunkley will be accepting of that, as if to say, you can't have all the mid-minutes in the world, Josh. So we've seen what he does. 2019, he dropped to 200. And I've mentioned this a few times on my channel. In the time 2019, when he played midfield from rounds 6 to 23, only one man had more contested possessions than him, and that was Nat Fife, who won the Brownlow in a landslide.
Oh, he's delicious, isn't he?
Got him.
I think Dunkley, he's run a PB in his time trial this year, which is great to hear. He works so hard. He sets the standards. He doesn't leave things to chance, and I just see his upside is too good. And his CBAs were like 20-something%, maybe in the 30s, because it was buffed up a bit early in the season. Still averaged lower hundreds, barely getting the mid-time. And a lot of those times he had to follow up in the ruck or attend ruck contests. So for me, I'm a big fan of him, and I think I'm probably going to start calling him King Dunkley if he moves clubs, because if he gets that mid-time, it's going to be huge. But again, the main thing with Dunkley is we've seen a reasonable floor with him getting almost no mid-time. That's going to go up a little bit this year, you would think. And if he does get the mid-time, if Treloar's injury prone, and Libba's been fantastic, but he's had knee issues. They were supposed to rest him last year, but he got through okay. So wait and see on that. But me, I think Josh Dunkley, even if he gets 60% mid-time, probably 110 average. So that's my view on Dunkley.
I am torn between risk it for the biscuit, and he has so much hurt factor that you want to be on him before he goes off. And I do agree. My only concern is when you look at everything switching around, Bont's already come out saying he's going to have to spend more time forward because, again, larger time, the quarter's going back out, so he'll have to spend more time forward or larger chunks forward, which makes sense. Liberatore and Treloar are my concern because they're kind of one-trick ponies. And it's funny because Treloar's a one-trick pony, but he can't even kick properly. So what does that make him, a half-a-trick pony? He plays, pure midfield guts. And I agree, Treloar injury-prone. He did both hammies a couple of years ago. Now he's injured again, I think calves. When you look at Liberatore, knees, etc., if they were looking at resting him last year, then you look at a full season with longer minutes on the ground. He's not going to be able to cut it, and he can't play anywhere else. So Liberatore is going to be bench and on and bench. Now, Steph Martin only played like 55% time on ground or something close to that last year. And what are they going to do? He can't play, surely. They can't have two guys playing 60% of the game on the bench.
Yeah, if they want Dunkley to play ruck, then he might as well start packing his bags, because he's not going to put up with that again, I don't think. So,
right. Do you think that they're going to put him into the position he wants to be in to either A, keep him, or B, sell him at a premium? Or do you think they're going to shelf him and throw him in a pocket and say, stuff you?
I hope not. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think it feels like the surplus of mids it was already ridiculous. Now it's beyond ridiculous with Treloar. So I think they still want to maximise his value. Whether he stays, whether he goes, who knows? I think Baz and McRae out of contract next year. See what happens there. So I think he'll play 60-40 mid forward, to be honest. I don't think they'll shelve him though.
I think it might be a little less, but I'm hoping at least 40% mid time. For me, I think that they tell everyone else, hey, just bide your time, like Lipinski and Smith, etc. Just saying, hey boys, like we're going to give him a run through the midfield this year. Right, smash it out, let him do well. And these other players kind of know they just got to bide their time for a year. Please stay with us. And then at the end of the year, I reckon Dunkley goes to the Dons and everything sort of works out. Lipinski, Smith, etc. start to come in. Treloar start taking that junk, the bulk midfield time again, and everything's rosy. They don't need Dunkley at that side. Essendon do. And I think if they play him in the midfield this year, Essendon will have to pay up. And they're going to have to cry to mama, because we all know Essendon like to play hardball, and Dunkley is someone you have to pay overs for. He's still out of contract too. He has another year. He's out of contract 2022, so they're going to have to pay for him.
Yeah, and the Dogs rate him very high. They weren't willing to give up a first and a second rounder. They didn't need it anyway because of the Jamara bids. I would have absorbed the picks anyway, but the Dogs sort of know his worth. I don't think Beveridge knows his worth in the midfield. We're looking at a guy that can average 130 in the midfield here. So, it's a little bit of a guessing game, but the way I see it is he's shown a really good floor playing stuff all mid-time. So I think it's only up from here. So,
yep. So at a worst case, you're thinking at least top 6 either way. So banking on him to be at least top 6. Yep.
I'm not even worried about top. I think he'll be top 2.
Okay. Nice. So that's my opinion with Dangerfield. I think it's one person that you can at least guarantee he's going to be top 6 and you can move on, because the problem is if you start with all these mid prices and all these speculatives, you've only got 30 trades. And if you have, 12 people on your field that aren't even going to be top 10, upgrade targets or stepping stones, then you're going to run out of trades just trying to get to a full side. So I think for me, I'm definitely looking at some defenders, some mids, some forwards, a couple at least that I can lock away and just go best, top 6 and move on.
Yeah, if you play it safe early, you might miss 1 or 2 bolters, but you're still going to have those trades there that you can use to your advantage later on. So there's value in that. So Dangerfield, he's going to be there the whole time probably. So
I agree. Now to round off, Preuss is out. Do you think the only option is now to have Gawn and Grundy, or do you think that some people are smart when I think they're absolutely fucking nuts?
Don't say Flynn R2.
Oh, no. Oh, that'd be even worse. I was thinking even like a Draper and people that are looking at going, some other kind of mid-pricer instead of Preuss, which I think is absolutely ludicrous.
It is. We have the 2 best rucks. In terms of Supercoach, the 2 best rucks ever. In terms of just general ruckman, I still think they're 2 of the best ever. Maybe I need to touch on my history there, but you have, they're right there in front of you, Gawn and Grundy. It's like, I was going to say this in a video, but it's like you have Ariana Grande and Selena Gomez right there, And
Thelma and
you don't want to pick
Louise.
them. You want to pick Lizzo, which is Preuss. And if you don't know who Lizzo is, check her Instagram and you'll understand what I'm saying.
See, that shows how old I am. Shows how old I am. I'm like Thelma and Louise, and then I'm thinking, it's like having a hot dog with no mustard. I mean, come on, like things go in pairs. No hot dog jokes there though. So, I do agree. I think if you have the two best rucks, if anything, beforehand people were tempted by Preuss, and now I think don't be tempted by Hickey, don't be tempted by Draper. Do not put a GWS brand new ruckman in as your F2. You will literally shit the bed and you won't be able to go anywhere except for trying sideways to someone who is not as good.
Yeah, you have to look at the context of each mid-price there in the ruck, right? So Preuss had 3 separate injuries last year. So it's not like you treat him the same as Naismith. I started Naismith last year. What a disaster. But you still say, okay, Preuss is a different player. We'll have a look at him. He's carrying too much weight probably, a bit like Zion Williamson. So probably going to be a little bit more prone to injuries. And 3 separate injuries last year. So, and if he goes down early and then Gawn's kind of out of reach, I get it we had Marshall for a while there. Maybe you had a better case to start Preuss because we had Marshall. Now we don't. So again, Preuss is gone, so don't worry about him. Tom Hickey's there, playing well apparently at the Swans. Looks like they would play Sinclair forward, I think.
Yeah, they're trying to see if they can play them both. I think he is their number one. He was in their A side in the Swans Intra Club, and apparently he was a far and above beyond better than the other rucks on the ground. So, but you're right, that's the security blanket's now been taken. Everyone thinks they could kind of go, fuck it, we'll put whoever we want in the ruck as our R2 because, hey, good old Marshall's here, and if everything goes bad, we'll just throw him in the ruck or whatever, and then we'll just pick a forward, and we can't do that anymore. There's no security blanket. That blanket's been ripped out, and you're going to be crying like a little baby if you go any other way than Gawn Grundy.
Yeah, I experienced that last year. We also have Josh Tracy.
So did I.
We have Tracy, I think, might play for Freo, but again, are you really going to rely on the first-year key forward as your cover? Probably not. No. Probably going to score anywhere between 70 and 15, so... I mean, it looks good though, but again, just pick your... It's not only that, it's the captain. Gawn is the number one captain option, and Grundy's flying this preseason from what I've read. So he didn't deal with the hub life too well, but he still scored really well last year. So, we have probably the 2 best players in Supercoach. Neil, you can make a case for, but for me, Gawn and Grundy, just captain and vice captain. They're right there in front of you. Just take them.
Yep, no, I agree, and I think the word is that I think that was it. Trakey, how do you say his name? He was playing forward. I think kicked some goals, so he looks okay. He probably will play. If you are concerned and you want to start with Flynn, you could always start Flynn as your R3 anyway, and then put that forward ruck in your forward line. Flynn makes some money. Marshall comes back. You trade him. You swing the other guy forward if you want. The Freo ruck forward. If you think he's going to make enough cash, then do it that way. But yeah, for me, I think it's pretty easy now. You just kind of got to look at the other options around.
Yeah, just Gawn and Grundy. But again, one thing that's interesting is if you do that, if Tracy and Flynn both play, what do you do with the loophole? We probably don't have a loophole.
Haha, I am glad you've got this. I've got a loophole sorted. And the reason is, right, for me, defenders are the easiest position to choose. Defenders are killing it. They're easier than midfielders. They're easier than forwards. You can pick premium defenders because they are more proven. Now the person on the mark can't even move, so apparently people are able to hit more kicks into corridors. They're able to hit better targets. I think you'll find those halfback flankers getting involved in more scoring chains as well. So for me, I've actually gone Rory Laird into the midfield, and then I've put A5 as a defender mid as my loophole in defense. And you know why? It's always nice to have a Fife on your field.
Until he gets injured.
No, that's what his name is. His name is A5.
Yeah.
It's great. I just like the look of it. I'm like, at least I can't pick Nathan Fife, but I've got A5 on my team, and that's good enough.
I have McRae in my team. I'm very happy, but unfortunately the other one might have to wait a little longer.
Yeah, it's risky, but if you're looking for a loophole, I'm kind of considering it because that way, if the defenders don't do well for me, then I can always just throw Laird straight back in there, and I have plenty of forward midfielders, etc., to be able to sort of interchange with each other and actually get someone on field in that midfield as well. So it's what I'm tinkering with at the moment. It's a little bit dodgy. Everything's dodgy at the moment.
At this point, I think it makes sense to have your loophole there, because it's going to be a bit. Yeah, if we get Flynn, you probably have a rookie cash cow, a ruck cash cow. You probably have to pick him at R3.
Yep.
And then here's the thing: if Tracy doesn't play early, he might be emergency, and you could use him as your loop at F8. But you're going to be very nervous if he's listed as emergency every week. And
you might not even know if they play late. You can't just kind of lock in your VC, because he'll be either playing. You'll get notified the day before, and you're like, well, hang on, I can't even take the VC anymore. I have to try and take a captain option, and maybe your captain you were going to choose has already played, so now you're like, oh crap, I've got to choose someone else instead. So I think it's going to, choosing teams the day before, I think it's going to hurt us a little bit this year.
Hopefully it doesn't hurt us with captains too much. But yeah, now that you bring that up, I'm even feeling worse about it.
Hopefully not. But look, I think that wraps us up pretty well, Jords. I think, we've gone through the forward options and some of the ruck perspectives as far as, the injuries, the injury to Preuss, the injury to Marshall. And I mean, Preuss will be out for months, shoulder reconstruction. So he's gone. And I think it'll be very interesting. And I'm assuming you're going to do some videos as well with the Amy series coming out, etc. What have you got coming up?
I've got a few guide videos coming up. Not exactly, because I have a series called Jords Way of Supercoach, where it's just how I play. Not necessarily the right way, but how I play and what's worked for me. We'll do a few breakout picks videos. A lot of breakout picks in the forward line I want to go over. We went for a little bit today. We'll go over a bit more in depth about that soon. But just lots of content. Show off a few other teams. So lots of plans. So it should be good.
Sounds good. And for us, SC Insider 100, we are looking at doing definitely our usual Twitch stream where people can send us their teams and we give you live feedback on that and have some kind of interactive sessions. But let us know in the comments and the section here if you do enjoy this. Jords, we've now got this sorted. We can definitely do a few little series even on how to play Supercoach or Supercoach for Dummies, also known as the Heaney Special.
Sounds good. Enjoyed chatting with you today, Ben. I really love the work you guys do. It's really probably the most professional out of the setup, and the banter between you and Chris is always really good to watch. So appreciate what you guys do for us in the Supercoach community. So looking forward to working with you a bit more.
Yes, you too. Now, before we leave, special in the comment section, the spreadsheet that I ramp about all the time. I'm going to put the link in the comments here as well, and I'll send, George has got the link too. If he wants to throw it in his comments, he can. Anyone doing draft leagues, it's got the games, the time on ground, averages since like 2015 or 16, which is stupid. Also fun facts, what they're commenting on. And also I've thrown a little bit of banter in there as well. Not really banter, more just crappy puns, and some are good and some aren't, but that's what you get.
That'll be great. I had a quick look at it, and you can see all the ceilings of some players, and it makes you think these players might really hurt me. So I think, you got to check it out.
Easy. Anyway, thank you very much, Jords.
No worries, Ben.
Alrighty, until next time. Bye.